Good morning, everyone, and welcome to IGTV. And we've got Kathy Braun on, and Kathy is actually, I guess, sharing her desktop right now.
Yes.
Because Kathy, that's not you.
No.
Okay,
She-
great. All right. So, Kath, go ahead. You're going to be discussing the day in the life of a first responder, and it'll explain the point of entry of malware and how it's handled, including a few possible tools. So, take it away, Kathy.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we hear about the broader types of malware attacks. But as was pointed out, companies have to deal with this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're not in the newspapers. But if they didn't do this, there still would be repercussions, either intellectual property, whatever. So, what are the ways? How can it happen? You've been compromised. We know again about the larger incidents, but really, a lot of it comes down to on a day-to-day basis is simply visiting certain internet sites and a malicious program being on that site, being resident on that site that's delivered. An individual using their USB device, as we hear about, they plug it in here, they plug it in there, download this, use their email, plug it back into the office, and voila, they have just infected their computer and the alarms go off. As far as a network attack, we've heard more sophisticated talks on that, but I'm not looking to go at that level, but I don't like to negate it overall. Another thing was employees signing up for virus protection, social engineering, and I'll give more specifics on that. Okay, let me just lower this for a minute.
Sure.
Excuse me 1 second because I have something echoing and I'm going to drive. Okay, there we go. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Anyway, one such incident that I can go into was the website Flickr, which is like a photo site. It's very benign, you would think. What could be the problem? So of course everyone's going to go there, and there isn't going to be any blocking for that particular IP. But what had happened is this malware Monkif, which now there's been 3 strains of it, was on this Flickr site. Also, this was global. I mean, there was newspapers in India that had the same malware on it, but you never really hear about the Monkef. And it affected hundreds and hundreds of machines, and it was quite an undertaking. We were able to locate it on the host machines. We couldn't use some of the other tools that are out there. We actually had to do real forensics on it and locate it on the box. Fortunately, they all had the same type of executable, and it was in the same location, so then we were able to remediate it. But while this was widespread, I mean, this took quite a while. It's not something you hear, and it was simply because they visited this site that was benign, and this is what happened. Another is social engineering. We hear about that, and I was fortunate even to hear people who are more expert speak about it and how they do it. They just keep calling and calling, and every time they call, they get more and more information. This can affect companies, with all the RDP, the remote login. This is a mechanism that they use to try to glean information. Another one is virus protection, right? For some reason, we don't know why people do things sometimes, but they were going to get some virus protection or some kind of filter for their machine, and it was under the auspice of a Christian, type of organization. When in reality, they signed up for this service, and it was a keylogger, and you could actually see information leaving. They were attempting to grab it from their host machine and export it. Command and control, I guess, is the word for that. So what's out there that people wouldn't, there would be no alarms, nothing to say, oh, don't go there. But this is the struggle that first responders have all day long. I'm talking about a couple of incidents. You have to, of course, multiply this by how much. And again, the USB devices. I know we hear a lot about the portable devices because they do, whilst they're wonderful, they cause a lot of trouble. Um, so again, not to be redundant, but network activity. There is tools as WebSense, and basically what that does is it blacklists a site. You know, like we said, we thought Flickr was safe. You find out it's not, and then you contact WebSense, and then they block it so that people cannot access that anymore, which does make people annoyed, but that's the way it is. And user activity of the USB devices, a lot of times that doesn't take up a lot of time for the first responders. A/B scans can grab most of that, but again, there are exceptions, and of course, email and data transactions when not handled correctly. So the first line of defense that we've already heard about, I won't go into any great detail, of course, is the SIM systems, and but from a first responders, if I'm sitting there as a first responder, it's already been captured. It's in the proxy log. The alarm went off, and what the first responder will receive first is an email saying, such and such hosts are possibly infected. Here's a glimpse of the proxy log. After that, the system will create a ticket, and then they will go and follow through from there. And again, the key point is the volume, the sheer volume of these emails and the sheer volume of these tickets, that we really don't think about as much as the larger ones. And then after that, sometimes it's benign. The payload was not successful, and other times there is remediation, like with the Monkif, when you do have to go into a forensic mode. So what are some of the tools you use? Because you want to go in and you want to go out as quick as possible. It's not like a forensic analysis where you want to take a long time and really, you need to resolve this ASAP. So there are some tools out there like JS Unpack, and it's really cool because you can just take the URL that you've gotten from the proxy log, paste it right in there, and it'll go through the code for you. And it's very effective. For quite a lot of situations, and it's quick, and that's the key, quick. The other one is VirusTotal. I'm sure a lot of people are very familiar with this, but this is does a wonderful job, and people in the community are very generous for submissions, and it really helps to facilitate another kind of quick resolve, or to ascertain if what you think you have is truly what you have, in the quickest fashion. FireEye is another one. FireEye works like in a virtual environment, and you take the URL and you put it in and you load it into this tool, and then it'll run it. And what you don't want to do in your environment is let it run all the way through to see what it does, but that's what it is able to do for you, so that you can see what registry entries it affects, what the payload might be, or if, again, it's benign and it's something that you can just close the ticket and move on. So when smoke fills a room, so with safety nets, hardware, software devices, how does a network or computer become infected? Well, as I've been trying to explain, I just want to make sure I was clear. I use the analogy when there's smoke in a room, then the fire alarm goes off, and so it is in instances in these malware attacks and just fighting this whole world as it is. The alarm doesn't go off until there's an instance. And yes, it can be contained, and there are sophisticated tools out there, but it doesn't account for everything, especially some of like the Monkif and some of those other that aren't as well known, and they're constantly changing. Monkif is morphed like 3 times, so it's not, that's part of the problem in and of itself. So is there any way to be proactive? Well, it depends how sophisticated an organization can get, how much they want to invest. There is tools that work at the application level, and basically that just means that it actually will look at the content, and take it a step further. The negative side is it takes a lot longer. It's not as quick, but it is necessary for certain parts of the infrastructure. So it comes back, and I believe I have heard this, and I will echo their words. How important is policy? We know that the first challenge is the people who utilize the system, between the web browsing, email, social networking, USB connectivity, and I say Yahoo because they were infected, I believe, last winter. And what happened is people would try to get into their email, get on that site, and they were forced to buy software to get rid of a virus, and it was a scam. So it's quite much out there. So policy is the greatest tool that an organization can utilize, of course, along with employee education. That's no small undertaking. The focus is on critical assets and data leakage. I think that's the primary target for everyone. Endpoint protection, I think, is getting more common, to lock down USB devices, which just means that you have to register your USB device at the least, or you are completely not allowed to plug it in. It won't read it. The software will just say, no, sorry, you cannot use this. Again, blocking websites that are not necessarily for business purposes pose a potential problem with tools such as WebSense, so that regardless, even if there's an attempt to go out there, they're not allowed to. And what we all can do, there is just so much free information out there now. It's a very generous society of people, and to keep current on trends by attending the free webinars, which I do myself. I try to go to one a week just to try to keep up. So basically, that's it. That would be a day in the life, and that's it.
Well, that's terrific. All right. Are we gonna see you again?
Oh, 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 oh. If I can get myself back on here.
There you go.
Am I back?
Yeah. No, not yet.
Let me see. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to hide, I swear.
No, that's okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Okay. That's. We just brought up my logo.
Okay.
I've got your desktops. Stop sharing your desktop.
Okay. There you go. I guess I'm still new, so on this.
Okay. No, that's okay. All right, Kathy. Thanks. We certainly appreciate it. And let's see.